death over here. And we are live. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited for you all to hear some really awesome stories from some of the leaders in our communities surrounding Sub 2, Top Tier TC, the Gator community. We have Carly Grunman, none other than Carly Grunman, here. She's going to be interviewing Ari, Quito, and Chris about some of the recent deals that they've closed. So really excited for you all. I'm going to be hanging out in the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and leave a comment, and we can pop your question up on the screen for our lovely host and guests to answer. Also, my name is Alex. I am a part of the Pace More V team. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and let Carly take it away, and I will be hanging out back here.
Thank you, Alex. Hi, guys. How are you today?
What's going on, Carly? How are you?
Good. Right now, we only can see Chris. I don't know if you can hear us, but you've got the spinny wheel, and Quito's having a little bit of trouble with his camera, but we can hear him. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thank you, Carly.
Good. So Taya puts these together, and she sends me host notes, and I don't prepare because I like to learn with everyone else. So I'm going to be asking questions about this because I don't know, but I know we have 2 deals to talk about. And then which Ari and Quito, did you guys do a deal together, or what are the teams?
I actually did a deal with Chris.
You did a deal with Chris. Okay, let's do Ari first because Chris is going to come. He'll come through. All right. So Ari, tell us about you. What communities are you in? How long have you been in them? Let us know who you are, and where we can also reach out to you.
Yeah, awesome. So I joined. I'm actually I'm looking at the date right now, and I'm like 2 weeks shy of 3 years in Sub 2. So yeah, nice. Anniversary party coming up. But got started literally. I mean, heard Pace on a podcast once, and obviously, like most people, he catches your attention and you're like, I got to find out more about this. Had been interested in real estate forever, but always felt it was kind of unattainable. And so heard that, and a couple months later, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm going to see what this is all about. So I joined Sub 2. This was kind of like 3 years ago. Top Tier TC wasn't around. I think Gator, I don't even know if Gator was around. It was like a hint of there's something coming. And so, yeah, I joined Sub 2, and that kind of was where I first learned anything about real estate at all. Mm-hmm. And this was a deal that took probably 6 months for us to get under contract from the start of it, but was able to do the deal with Justin Tumanowski, which I assume everyone on here already knows that name, but he's over in New England. I'm in Connecticut. And so we did that deal together, and you know, it's been 3 years of doing this, and I'm now one of the regional leaders in New England. So it's been just a huge honor to be able to give back. And yeah, I know you said where can you reach out? So you guys posted my Instagram, which is a perfect place. I'm trying to be better at it. So the more people that reach out to me there, the better it is. The more incentive I have to actually keep up with it.
Yes. And if you're just listening, it's Instagram is the handle is ARIGRIRELLI.
Yep.
So, all right. So I love that you had started out and you said it took 6 months to close. And I think that's, well, first we'll find out where you found it, but I think that's an important thing to kind of call out, because everyone's like, oh, here's a deal, just get it done and it'll be done in a month. And I don't know if new people really understand the importance of sticking with a deal. It's huge. So I do want to touch on that, but I first want to know, what kind of deal was it? How did you find it? Where did you get, like, how did it fall into your sphere?
Yeah. So it was a foreclosure. That's how we initially found it. And it was from some off-market prospecting. But what was cool about this was once we got into it, we found out that they were actually under contract with an agent. It was not only a foreclosure, but it was a divorce. It was, the guy had some trouble with the law, I think, and had just worked through that. And he was also a vet. So it was like all these things coming together as one. And when we originally found out about it, it was another low equity deal, and he was asking way too much. And I was super green, and I made the newbie mistake of over promising and thinking like, oh, we got this in the bag. And yeah, you have to, the idea of making one call and getting a deal, it can happen, but it's so unique. You've got to follow up. You've got to nurture these relationships. That's how people that are doing a lot of deals at a time, that's how they do it, is they're just consistent. They over and over again, they do the boring work.
Yes. And I kind of want to point out, he's like, okay, it was a pre-foreclosure. So there's so many things, there's so many layers to this deal. Usually like it's a pre-foreclosure, divorce, direct to agent. You know, you have every single thing in this thing. So he's a vet. Was it a VA loan or anything?
Yeah, it was.
So it's a VA loan. So that's a little hurdle. A divorce. Nobody wants to be friends. They already don't like each other. There's an agent involved. You said there's pre-foreclosure, so it's in arrears. They've got some arrears. So you have a lot of hurdles to come over in this. And so tell us how all the things that took you 10 months or 6 months to get to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one was that the person, and you'll hear this over and over again, but it's they think that it's worth way more than it is. And so, you know, they're holding out hope that, okay, it's listed on market, maybe I can sell it, maybe I can get this valuation. And you know, it was around that time, this was a deal down in Florida, and I know the market has started changing. So you know, at one point they probably could have gotten it, but they were always just a little bit behind the 8 ball. So they would drop prices right as it was like, okay, well, now that ARV isn't really realistic. And so finally, when I had a conversation with the agent, you know, it was funny that I called her up and I said, hey, you know, I'm calling about this property that you have listed. How's it going? And she goes, it's horrible. And it was at that moment that I was like, okay, there's a deal to be made here, because we can solve this problem that works for the seller. I had already been talking to the seller, so I already knew where he was at. And now it was just a matter of the agent getting on board. And so we had a conversation, and she hadn't really done any creative finance deals before, but she was like, I like the sound of this. This is really the only thing that gets this sold.
That's nice. It's nice when you have the thing that they've got a lot of motivation going on here. So they have the foreclosure, which there's a timeline that they have to get it figured out, which is helpful to closing a deal. But there's also the agent. So how did you guys structure the deal? You guys got the agent on board, the seller's on board. Then what?
Yep. So basically what we did, the other thing for creative deals, one of the challenges that you run into is that when you're finding out about what the reinstatement amount is, you can find out on you know, day one, and then by the time you're actually ready to close, that changes.
It does.
So you're aiming for a moving target. Yeah, and it's so hard because it's like, you know, you've got to get the bank to move fast enough to give you the information that you need before that amount goes up. And so, yeah, Carly, you pointed out that, you know, they were getting towards the end of when the agent had an exclusive contract to list this. So the agent at this point was also more motivated to get it across the finish line. Otherwise, they wouldn't get paid. So basically, we figured out the amount that we could spend up front on this. I think the arrears were maybe like $30,000 by the time we finally closed. And so we had a budget. We had like $5,000 that we were like, okay, here's how much we can give to the seller. So we ended up structuring it where we basically gave the seller the $2,500 and the agent $2,500, which was lower than what the agent would have gotten had it sold on market traditionally. But they knew that that was the best thing that they could do. And we took on all the work. Like the agent really didn't need to do anything after that.
Yeah, it's nice when you can talk an agent. You're like, listen, you're not going to have to do anything. We'll pay you, you know, and that can sometimes be a sticking point for agents, you know, where they're like, I want my whole, now they're asking for like 6% sometimes when I talk to them, and you're just like,
yeah.
So
Yeah.
So you gave the agent 2,500, you gave the seller 2,500, which is nice because they would have gotten, neither one of them would have gotten any of that money any other
Right.
way, likely.
Right.
And you came in and you paid their, what was like the all in that you had to come in? So the arrears were probably high.
Yeah, the arrears, so they were relatively high, and that's kind of like we can get to what happened with the property next. But yeah, so we came in. I think we had just a shy of $40,000 into the property between the arrears, what we had to pay to them. It was a brand new build. I mean, they had been living there for like less than 2 years, so it was in really good condition. So we didn't have to do anything in terms of getting it livable again. But one thing we did have was we had about 6 months of expenses that we had to carry over before we got someone into the property. So we factored that in too.
Why? What was the 6 months? Like what was happening in those 6 months?
Yeah, so we actually sold this on a wrap, and basically for anyone that doesn't know, a wrap basically is someone comes in and actually you take the existing mortgage on the property, the existing note, put your own bit on top of that, and someone comes in and then buys that from you. So the challenge with selling anything on a wrap is that you've got to find a buyer that is interested in the property, but also interested in the financing terms that you lay out. And that can take a long time. So like we had a problem with this one that I mean, Facebook, we put it up on Facebook, put all the information about the property, put the terms of it, and Facebook just kept like shutting it down. They did not want to show it on Facebook Marketplace. So we'd have like 5 views a day or something like that, something crazy low. And so it was just tough to get eyeballs on it. But that with any wrap, that's kind of my caution to anyone that wants to do a wrap is make sure you factor in vacancy, because people don't jump on it like day 3 and all of a sudden you get a big down payment and you get monthly payments. It's just not that easy.
No, it's not. So you got on a wrap, which is, I like to explain it, sub-2ing a sub-2 kind of. So you just wrap a sub-2 deal into another deal. And then, so you found him 6 months later after fighting with the algorithm on Facebook. And tell me about him. How'd you find him? Oh, thanks.
Yeah. It was an interesting one. So Justin had been posting about it. I had been posting about it. The guy found both of our posts, and he responded to so he found Justin's first, and he responded to mine basically saying, "Is this a scam? Why do you guys both have it listed?" And so we kind of talked him off the ledge a little bit, and we verified that he had the money to put down on the property. We verified that he was able to afford it, and so Justin actually found out on Facebook, like looking at his profile picture, that he, as his profile picture, had a picture of the house as the picture, like before he even bought the thing. So he was super excited for it. He like couldn't wait. It was an amazing start to it, and a sad sort of end to that, because he didn't quite have the money for the wrap, right? No. So he bought on a lease option, which basically same thing as a wrap, except instead of transferring title, we held on to title. Mm-hmm. And we said to him, "You give us $20,000 down, you'll be a renter for the first 6 months or a year, and then you'll come with the additional money and we'll transfer title then." Well, 11 months in, we get a call from his son, and his son told us that his father had passed away, and the family didn't want the property anymore, and they basically said, "Here you go, it's yours."
Oh no, that's so sad.
Yeah. So it was really sad to hear that, and I remember getting that phone call from Justin and being like, what do we do now? But we didn't. So if this had happened like 2 months later and he had actually bought the property and title had changed, it would have been a much more challenging situation.
I know. I was just thinking, if you guys didn't switch it from a wrap to a lease option, that would have been, you have to go through probate. Like and then there's more holding costs.
Right.
That you're not. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise that he didn't get, for everybody involved, that you turned it into a lease option as a
Yeah,
renter.
exactly. Because the family would not have wanted to go through the probate process either. You know, it was like very sad that he had passed away, but also it would have been super complex had this happened as he owned it as a wrap.
Wow. So then that's I don't want to say it's nice, but it's better because then you can turn around and do the same thing and do a lease option with someone else on that as well. So is that what you guys ended up doing?
We actually found a renter for it.
Nice.
So yeah, basically what had happened is at that point, the reason we didn't put a renter in at first, it was like a 3% interest rate. So good interest rate, but the arrears were high enough that it was tough to stomach that. So with the pay down that we had over that year that he was living there and the down payment that he put on for the lease option, it made it make more sense as a rental.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you guys are just renting it out.
Yep.
With your nice 3% rate.
Yeah. Nothing better than a 3% rate. It's hard to find those.
Those are hard to find. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it ended up working out really well, and obviously, you know, very, very sad that he passed away, but the family was so appreciative of him being able to have this house. So
that's amazing. And I love how you solved all the problems for the seller. You got them out of a bind. You're helping their credit because we didn't even talk about that because they're not going into foreclosure.
Right.
And you guys are paying on time. This guy got his dream house.
Yeah.
And you guys got your 3% rate. It's a win-win-win for everyone.
I was just going to say that. And those are the best deals, is when everyone leaves saying like, I got what I needed out of this.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a good story.
Yeah. It was a good one.
That's a really good one. So people, maybe if they're watching now and they're like, hey, I'm on the East Coast, how can people bring you deals? What are you guys looking for? Are you and Justin looking to do more 3% wraps? If people want to reach out to you and help you and bring you value, how can they do that?
Yeah. So this one was a JV deal. You know, I love doing deals with Justin, obviously super knowledgeable. JV deals in my mind are one of the best things because I love being able to win with people. And also, I mean, there were challenges here. So it's good to be able to also share those kind of issues and losses. But really, I'm looking for, I guess, two things. One is if you're anywhere in New England, please reach out. Love to obviously JV, but also just we have so many events. There's so much that's open to you. So like take advantage of that because we're putting them on and we want to meet people. We want to meet you. We want to hear about what you're working on. We want to help. So definitely participate in that. The other thing is if anyone's looking to get more involved in real estate, especially if you're greener, that's where I started. So I kind of have a soft spot there, but if you're looking to get involved in deals, and you're in New England, especially, please reach out. Would love to see if you're a good fit for our team. And if not, get you connected with the people up here that you might be a better fit with.
Yeah, that's amazing. You guys definitely, no matter where you are, find leaders within your community, even if you're not in sub 2. Most of these events are open to the public. You've got Gators there, you've got top tier TC there, you've got sub 2. You can meet all these people. Most of them are free. I think if not all of them are free. When's your next event? Do you guys know when your next event is?
Yeah, so we've got one. We actually have an Eventbrite that you can go to. It's sub2newengland.eventbrite.com. We post all our stuff there. I know we've got one in Connecticut coming up on the 1st. We've got another one in like the Worcester area around Boston that the whole region's invited to. That's coming up on the 15th, I believe. Nice. Yeah, but we try to do one a month in every state, and then like 4 big ones a year.
Amazing. Well, Thank you, Ari. This was a great story. Thank you for being here and sharing this with us. And everyone, reach out to Ari, even if you're not on the East Coast, and follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carly, thank you for doing this. Obviously, the whole team that puts this on is incredible. So you guys deserve a lot of props.
Pace's team, he has the best people on his team. We've got Alex, you've got Taya. I mean, we can name the whole team. So he has some great people. So
Yeah,
thanks for saying that. Yes.
definitely.
All right. All right. Keto, we got your video. We see you
Yes,
now.
finally working. Finally got it to
Yes.
work.
I think we lost Chris. He lost internet. But if
Yeah.
he pops back in, we'll bring him on in. So, Keto, tell me about you. Who are you? What communities are you in? How long have you been in the communities? Let's start there.
All right. Well, again, my name is Quito. I'm actually in the Billings, Montana market.
Nice.
Yes, and I've been involved with PACE for, gosh, I want to say going on 4 years. When I started, honestly, I had no rentals at all. I was just kind of doing wholesaling, and I wanted to kind of find out like how to accelerate that. When I learned about creative financing, it's like, man, and I was reading some kind of real estate thread, and they mentioned Pace Morby. To check him out. I was like, okay, I checked him out, and like most people here, right? Like, okay, after seeing all his videos that he puts out, like, you know what, this guy is a real deal. So I believe I was like the second round of I was the first 1,000 in the community. I was because he had,
OG.
yeah, 500, and then when he opened it up the second time, I was in the second round. So I kind of like the OG, but kind of, you know, I've been kind of hiding in the background.
In the second round, OG.
Yeah, but I am one of the leaders in the Pacific Northwest.
Mhm.
So I help host our Thursday accountability calls and stuff like that. And but yeah, so I mean, it's just been involved. And my background is actually, I was a realtor for about 15 plus years. And then when I got into in creative financing, I just kind of went all in on doing creative financing. And at that time, I was actually in Seattle, but during the pandemic, moved to Billings, Montana. So that's kind of where it got
Nice.
started.
I'm outside of Seattle, and I wish I would have moved to Billings, Montana. It's a good,
Yeah.
it's great over there.
Yeah, it is. It is. I feel like it's an untapped market, and
Yeah.
you know, one of the things about being involved in Pieces community, you connect with so many different people in the community, and like Ari was saying, like you JV with other people, and this kind of leads us into the deal that I want to bring up, or with Chris, who's unfortunately not able to, be on here just yet, but again, he might pop in. But it was one of those deals where, he joined the community, would show up on our Thursday calls, and one day he calls me up and says, "Hey, Keto, I've got a deal that I'm working on." I said, "Well, what do you got?" And he tells me about, "Oh, this is an on-market deal. I've reached out to the realtor and mentions about creative financing, and they might be open to it." I said, "Okay, sure." So basically, what Chris did, Chris just kind of set it up for me, and he set up the meeting with the realtor, and I went there the following day, met up with the realtor, built that rapport, and looked at the property and went back to Chris, said, "Hey, Chris, I think we can make this work." He's like, "Okay, why don't you let's put together some numbers," and we figured a number, and we presented to the realtor, and the realtor talked to the seller. And what had happened was this property, I think, fell out of the contract like twice, right? And it's been sitting on the market, so there was some motivation. And the seller was an older lady. They had it as a rental when her kids were going through college, and now their grandkids have all grown out, and her husband passed away, and now it's like, well, what do I do with this property? And she doesn't live in town. And when we presented, the price was like they wanted $350. We ended up offering 345 with a 3% interest, right? And what was interesting was they talked to their attorney, because they had their attorney involved, and the attorney was actually advising against the 3%. Because, "Oh, you should offer more, to at least 5 to 6%." But the seller, was just, she didn't need the money. The money was going to go to her grandkids anyways, because was in her 70s, and says, "I like these guys, And because, in Billings, I kind of built a reputation of being the guy that buys properties, fixes up, and things like that. So built that rapport. And the agent actually was able to saw me on the news. So she recognized me because our city did an article on me. So that kind of helped, kind of building that reputation.
Credibility.
Yes, that building that credibility. So right away, it's like they built that trust. Like, okay, this guy's gonna, this guy's gonna be able to perform. So long story, we ended up getting it at 3% interest, 30-year fix, 5% down, and we cash flow after expenses about $870 a month. And
what? Home run!
So that was a great. So I mean, it's like a 40-50% ROI on this, and we still got it rented out. And I mean, it's great, and that's I want to say that's the power of being in the community, right? You connect with people, and Chris is a great guy, really knowledgeable. He built that report initially with with the agent, got me involved, and we ended up partnering up with this. So I helped negotiate the deal. He was the one that brought money to the table, that 5% down, and we were able to just get it done. And this deal actually, from the time we've contacted the agent to the time we closed, it was probably within 45 days from start to finish. So went fairly quick. We got the deal done, and right before it closed, I even had a tenant lined up, ready to move in. So there was no gap in terms of how long we had to hold it before we could rent it out.
This was like literally a deal that like textbook deal. Like if you could make it go any perfectly, you have especially with the attorney, because a lot of times attorneys like to, their opinion matters, but they don't see both sides. And so, that's amazing. So what kind of house is it? Is it a single family, multi-family?
It's a single family, 5-bedroom, 3-bath.
Nice.
It's about it's like almost 3,000 square feet. So
it's a big home,
and we ended up renting it to a Hispanic family that had like multiple people. So they were able to move in right away. And the thing about building that credibility, because they had other people reach out to them about doing sellifying and stuff like that, but at the same time they didn't feel like those people would perform. They said, we went with you guys because like you have a track record, you know what you're doing, and you're going to be able to perform on this. And that's what they wanted. They wanted that security, and we would have built that credibility to let them know that we are the person that can make it work.
Yeah. And it's credibility and rapport is so huge, because that will separate you from, they had so many other options, but
exactly.
I mean, you were on the news for good reasons, all the good things. And so I'm assuming, so you rented it out, long-term. Where did you find the family? Is it hard to find?
Well, actually, I have an in-house property manager.
Nice.
And she, I let her know, hey, I've got this property in contract. Let's start, getting a list together. And sure enough, she was able to find somebody, and we got them in right after we closed. It was like you said, this was like textbook. There wasn't really any like kinks that we had to overcome. The only thing was just that attorney initially, just overcoming the attorney review and going back and forth with the terms. Oh, also too, one other thing I wanted to mention is, we wanted 30 years, right? The attorney said, you know what, do 10 years, right? So this is what we did. I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we do a 10 years? If we perform, give us an option for another 10 years. And if we have not default, give us another 10 years. So total of 30 years, right? So that was—
that's a good one. Like, let us prove it to you.
Yeah, let us prove to you. I know you want 10 years, we want 30, but we'll give us the 10 years. If we have not missed a single payment, give us the option to extend it for another 10, and then for another 10. So essentially getting us 30 years.
That's a genius. So there's like, I love how you said that, because people are like, oh, well, I want Did they start out at 3 or something? Did you say that? Or they started out
Well,
at a
they
lower
wanted something shorter, and then they
short?
said they finally agreed to 10, but really wanted 30. It's like, wow, this is how we can get you to your number.
I love it because everybody wins that way. And then they feel like they're protected. If you don't perform, then they can be like, bye. We're cashing out at 10 years. So
yes,
that gives everybody peace of mind. So, and I love how you said, and Ari can probably attest to this, and I can attest to this. Before I got in the community, I was a lone wolf, and I'm like, I'll just do it myself. But Ari worked with Justin. You're working with Chris. You've worked with other people in the group. You've obviously worked on other deals, and you're on the news, and it just goes to show, Ari kind of called it out, how JVing, and don't be afraid of working with people to get a deal done, because we all need each other, and we all can win. A win-win-win for everyone.
absolutely. And that's I really think is the power of the community. Right?
It really
Being involved in a community, especially if you're in Pace's community, is one of, by far. I mean, I've been in other mentorship programs and other communities, but by far, I would have to say that this community has been responsible for me being able to create a portfolio where I basically just live off my rentals now. So this is awesome.
Yeah. And you don't have to go into business with someone. Ari was like, this was just a JV situation. It's not like he and Justin are doing deals every time together. It's just like, let's come over here. And, same thing with Chris. Are you a partnership with Chris, or was this a JV deal?
This is a JV deal.
Yeah.
But we got 2 more properties that we're going to JV on as well. So, as a matter of fact, we're working on 2 of them as we speak. So
that's amazing. Wow, that's a killer deal. That was a home run. Crush it right out of the park. Textbook, like chef's kiss. So
that's right. So that's
amazing.
Yeah, and as Ari attested, not every deal is going to go like that. I mean, some you're going to have to work like 6 months. I mean, I have deals where I've worked for a year, but
people die. They get holding costs. It can go both ways. Every deal is different.
Absolutely.
But I've never heard anyone say, like, 3 years down the road that they wish they had never purchased properties.
No.
It doesn't matter how hard it is. Like, you figure it out, and you once the dust settles, you're like, yeah, that was a good decision.
It is.
It's
and
true.
The thing people got to realize that real estate, I mean, it is a long game, right? I mean, especially if you want to build that, passive income, you just got to just keep doing it. Like I said, like, you're not going to regret 3 years from now that you bought something today, right? In matter of fact, 3 years from now, what you could have bought would probably be more 3 years from now, right? I mean, in my years of real estate, most of the time, real estate gradually goes up, right? And so does rent, right? I've never had a landlord say, oh, this year your rent's going to be less than last year. That doesn't happen.
Or your property value is 50% less than when or like with vehicles, and I do RVs sometimes too. And it's just like, that's a depreciating asset. With houses, the first deal we bought was not a good deal. We're negative cash flowing $300 a month. We're going to turn it around in 2 years and probably make all of our money back plus a couple $100,000 more just because of appreciation, So it is a long game. I'm glad that you both pointed that out. Ari took 6 months to close on his. There was all sorts of things. It was a long game for you. I think that's such an important message to tell people. You're not going to get a 3% deal. Cash flows 8%, $800 a month just overnight and without any work. So you guys, it took you a lot of stuff to get there, and a lot of work and a lot of partnerships. Is there anything else that you would say to newbies, like that you'd wish other people would understand? Like, it's not quick, fast money tomorrow type stuff.
Honestly, that's the biggest one. Don't expect it tomorrow. Don't expect it in a month. Don't expect it in 5 months. But the learning this allows you forever money. And so it's worth that kind of grind and just spend the time to learn it now so that you set yourself up in the future.
Yeah. So it is a long game for sure.
It is. And like Ari mentioned, like the JV is huge. Get connected with someone that's been doing it, that's experienced, they can help shorten that learning curve and,
Yes.
and help mitigate the risk too, right? So you're not doing it all on your own, but you've got somebody that's experienced and that's going to show you the ropes, and you're going to learn. And sometimes just the learning part, like don't always expect a home run, just get a base hit, right? The more
Yeah.
base hits you get, down the road, you'll hit those home runs.
Yeah. And it takes how long? So you said, I just also want to point out, Quito's been in real estate, and I'm going to ask Ari next. You started out in real estate for being the agent for 15 years, and then
Absolutely.
you went to wholesaling. How many years did that take you to get to owning a 3% sub two that cash flows $800 a month?
Gosh,
How much?
I say, you know what? I mean, this is like 20 years in the making, right? From just
Yeah.
learning, from being in real estate, just doing. But then once I started learning about creative financing, that really helped shorten that time frame, right? So when some people look at me, they go, "Oh man, this is, that it seemed like short, but really, I mean, it's like 20 years in the making, you guys. It just doesn't happen overnight."
Yeah. And how long did it take you to get here, Ari? How many years in real estate?
So 3 years in 2 weeks.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it took like the first year. We had almost nothing. We were trying to wholesale, and first deal I got under contract was awful. But we had we didn't know so much, and the seller didn't tell us a lot, and so it took about 9 months before we even got a paycheck.
Yeah. And it happens, but you stuck with it. You're consistent. You keep showing up. And I love what Kevin's saying. He says, have either one of you guys done a creative finance multifamily deal at all?
I have actually. A matter of fact, I was prospecting and ran across a seller that had multiple properties, and he wanted to exit the game. He was in his 70s, and he has like a 16 unit apartment complex, and so basically, just long story short, he had total like 9 properties, and this was one of the 9. I ended up taking all of it, just piece by piece, right? But this particular one, it was a 16 unit. It needed a lot of work. And I mean, he had in this neighborhood, this is a rough neighborhood. And I mean, there's druggies. I mean, when I took it over, holy smokes. I mean, it was like your nightmare case. You got drug dealers, you've got prostitution happening in this building. Literally, I really had to clean this property out. But just a long story short, this deal, I ended up only putting $2,000 down. The property at that time was generating about $6,000 a month, just the way it is.
Wow.
But when I was running the numbers, I figured once I get it cleaned up, and it's work in progress, that property should generate about, I would say, close to 15,000 once I get it all cleaned up. And I mean, I've been just chucking away on it, just cleaning it up here and there. And sometimes the city gets on my case about broken windows and things like that. But it's like, man, it's just work in progress. But the good thing is I do get neighbors say, hey, Quito, really appreciate what you're doing to trying to clean this neighborhood around. Because this property was like, you drive by and you can tell it's horrible. But slowly, replacing the windows, repainting, just dressing it up when you drive by, it doesn't look so bad. But yeah, so that was a seller financing deal where I got in with very cheap, but it was a lot of work just to get it to a point where I just said clean it up. So
yeah,
and I think multifamily is no different than single family when you're talking about creative finance. I would almost argue you're more likely to get some creative terms on a multifamily because most of these people, they're investment properties, so they have that sort of mindset already.
I agree. I think it's almost easier to get a creative finance.
It is
multifamily.
Yeah,
because they have that mindset.
Yeah.
Unlike the people that have it listed $50,000 over what it's worth, and they're just like, I'm going to get it. It's just a different mindset. And if the property is big enough, if you go to the bank, they'll finance it as a business instead of you as a person too. So, which is, the bank looks at it differently if you're going to the bank. So to get some money, but
yeah.
That's amazing. You guys, this was so fun. I love learning all about your guys' stuff. I want to JV with you guys on some stuff, and thanks for being here. And thanks for telling everyone about your killer deals, and congratulations.
We'll have to find some deals over by you, Carly.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
awesome. And for all of you watching today, I hope you were able to get some value out of everything that we were talking about. And hopefully you've taken down Ari's contact information, Quito's contact information, so that you can start doing deals with them, maybe JVing. Honestly, I loved listening to your stories today. And I loved the fact that you're like being so real and honest with everybody that's listening today. Like, this is not going to be a cakewalk. You know, it might be simple, but it's not always easy. So I really loved all of the teamwork that you were talking about, utilizing the community and utilizing your own resources that you had. So yeah, we are always making more money together. So we have to keep it on with that. In that vein, also getting around the right rooms and making sure that you're networking with the right people, I feel like is so imperative. So I have to ask y'all, are you going to Squat Up Summit?
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah. Are you going to be there, Alex?
Perhaps. We'll see.
I hope so. I would love to see you again.
Who do we have to talk to, Alex? We'll make.
Yeah, who we got to talk to?
I know. I feel like I have a lot of responsibilities here in office, so we'll see. Yeah. I probably will be helping behind the stage or behind the scenes kind of deal. But yeah, that is just an awesome networking event for those of you who don't know what Squat Up Summit is. Talk about getting in the right rooms, talk about like real estate investing deals getting done in that room type deal. Yes. So really excited for everybody that's going to go there. And I'll drop the link in the chat if you want to check it out and see if a ticket is within your affordability range.
And you guys, I want to just tell you guys the secret. I don't know if Keto and Ari will probably agree with me. Being in those rooms, being in the right rooms, and surrounding yourself with the right people, with the right mindset, with all of that it's like rocket fuel. Like you can network with people online, and this is great, and do it and do the Zooms. But it's just like you feel the energy and you meet people and you just like it sounds corny, but magic really does happen there. It is really rocket fuel. Those are the things that they're expensive to go to. You got to fly. I have to get childcare. I have to take time off of work, but it is absolutely worth it. So if you guys are on the fence, come hang out with us.
Yeah, it is. And I also believe that you got to invest in yourself, right?
You do.
Whatever it is, like each year, put aside some money, invest in you to grow, because it's going to pay dividends. The relationships you make, the information, and sometimes just one nugget, just that one nugget could just like change how you do your business. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, it can just blast. It's rocket fuel. It'll blast you off for sure. So
yeah. And Carly, I know you were mentioning sometimes it's so difficult to like fight against that Facebook algorithm. So like being actually in person, people can get like your energy. You can find those partnerships that you want to create.
You can't. Mark Zuckerberg can't keep you away, and his algorithm can't keep you away from others in real life. So beat that Facebook algorithm for sure. Good point, Alex.
Yeah.
Find any local meetup to go to.
Yes.
There are a million of them that we host.
Yes. Keto, you do Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
You're in Montana. We didn't talk about where can people meet up with you? When's your next meetup?
Yeah, matter of fact, we've got one happening this Thursday at a coffee shop. And so if you're in the Billings area, surrounding Billings area, like stop on by. Come in it's going to be from 6 to 8. And we just basically, we're not there to sell. We just want to network, share information, and and make deals happen there.
Yeah. Amazing.
So awesome. Charity is so sweet. I have to show this message.
We love Charity. Charity, she's a newbie and she is kicking butt. She is being consistent. She's getting out there. So shout out to, I know Charity. She's a killer.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Super. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here, spending your hard earned time with us today. I know this was definitely meaningful for a lot of the people that were here watching. The chat was going off. So I hope the best for the rest of your week. And we'll see you again on Friday.
Yay.
At 10.
All right, thank you.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Thanks. You too.